Yo guys, Av McCree just put me onto this new VST plugin builder and I want to try it out. So in the last video, I clicked the wrong buttons and I wasn't using it correctly, but I didn't have enough time to be figuring it out. So in this video, it's called VST Plugin Companies Will Hate Me for This. It says make your own plugins. So this app he's showing off is called HoloFX. So basically I downloaded this. If you're on Mac, it's not signed. So you have to go into your app settings, make sure you go to privacy and then make sure you open anyway. So anyway, once you log in with your email, it sends you a code. So basically, here's the plugin we built before. And I figured out how to upload audio in here. So on the left side, if you scroll over, Sampler AI left a comment on my video that says on the left side, there's a play button. So click either play, it will create this tone, or switch it to file. We can upload a file. So here is the file. This is a Do Sounds file. And now we can test the plugin. So for example, just to show you guys, let me make this full screen. So it's a lot to explain, but if you watch part 1 of the video, you guys saw how most plugins are built via a modular system, meaning the same way we build in FL Studio's Patcher is how plugins are usually built nowadays, okay? So it's not like you need to be a coding genius to make a plugin. Okay, so what we're doing is hitting play. And now we're gonna mess with these values. So first, let's just see what it sounds like, and then I'll show you guys how to start from scratch. So over on the right side, these are the, that sounds pretty good actually, tape saturation. Let's see what the compressor sounds like. Now there isn't an envelope for the compressor, or maybe we have to create one, I'm not sure. And then what was this? This is the EQ, so let's boost. Sounds pretty dope to me. Actually, yeah, I will be honest, the tape saturation sounds actually very pleasing. I'm actually shocked at the quality of that. All right, so how do we start from scratch? Let me figure this out. So let's go to File. So basically, I thought I had to buy something to actually do what I was trying to do, which is play audio through it. So let me figure out how to start from scratch. Hold on, guys. All right, so basically I clicked this little home button and then it opened this up and it says start new effects. So let's do that. All right, let's see if maybe I clicked the wrong button. Start new effects, open templates. Okay, here we go. On the left side, it says new project. It says start a new project. Yes. All right, so it's not very clear. Okay, so you got to X out that window. All right, so similar to how Patcher and FL Studio, you guys know that when you run audio through Patcher, it's going to go blank because basically you have to connect the signal flow. So let me turn this down and show you guys what it is. So here's the sound. This is a cashmere loop. Okay, but if we add Patcher, for example, there won't be any sound because we have to connect the cables. Okay, so basically we have to create our own signal path for this to be heard. So let's go from FL back to FL. And now we can hear the audio. So the same thing here is that it starts out with a blank canvas and we're not going to hear anything unless we connect the audio in to the audio out. But before we do that, let's name the plugin. Let's call this test plugin 2. And let's see if we can get fancy with the, actually let's call it tape plugin test. Okay. And let's see what we could do here. So in the previous video, I was frustrated because I thought we couldn't hear the audio, and I thought in order to export the VST, you had to pay. That's what I thought. But I didn't know you could preview audio right inside the project. So that changes my perspective on that. So I'm glad we're doing a separate video on this. So long story short, there is a tour. I think if you click one of these icons, it'll probably guide you guys through. Okay, so here's the tour. You click on the little hat and it will guide you guys through. So it says next you choose, so let me go back. It says name your plugin. It says choose from the effects blocks that we're gonna lay out similar to FL Patcher. And it says choose the branding colors, and then it basically wants us to select the knob style. And then over in the GUI is where we preview everything, basically. All right. So I skipped the tour initially and I missed some things. So firstly, what we're going to do is we named it. Okay. Now we're going to scroll down. We're going to make a VST AU for Logic Pro and a standalone for iterations on the UI. Standalone really, in terms of effects, I don't really see anybody using a standalone effect plugin. All right, so we have that. Now we can use presets. I'm going to skip all this stuff here. So the first thing we're going to drag in our node base is a gain knob. We're going to use this as a trim. Okay, turn stuff up and turn stuff down, and input and output. Now double clicking it locks it apparently. I don't know what locking does, but let me just click there. So we have to basically drag the audio input. Once we zoom in, this reminds me of Electron, which is a modular system for coding. Okay, so we're going to drag this up. So now we have the input volume, we have the gain. I don't know if we could rename this. I don't think so. Okay, so now we have the gain. Now last time we went straight into the tape emulation, but this time let's add a filter before the tape. That way people can chisel down the harmonics before they go into the next sound. So let's add a low pass filter. Okay, so it's the same logic, guys, as like making your own FL patcher patch. Now the thing here, this disconnected itself and I don't know how to disconnect. Okay, let's figure out how to disconnect cables. Let me hit Control click, Alt click, Shift click. So it's not very clear how to disconnect this cable because right now it's routing from the audio in. Maybe we have to click the cable. All right, this is not very intuitive. Okay, so let me figure this out, guys. The cable did highlight it, so let me figure this out. All right, guys, so this may be like the beginning of this software because one, there's no easy way to get rid of this cable. And secondly, you can't delete modules. Like I can't just click on it and delete it. Oh, here's an X, never mind. Let's just do that. I missed that. So that is a little tedious. The fact that we have to redo this, not that big of a deal, but you know, cable management should be kind of easy to do. So let's left click here. We're going to go from the gain to the low pass. So again, as soon as the audio comes in, we want to be able to turn it up, turn it down. After that, we're going to run into a low pass filter to give the user the ability to shave off harmonics that they may not want before we go into now the tape saturation. Now we'll say their tape saturation actually sounds decent. I'm actually kind of surprised. We're going to run some drums through this though to see how it sounds on drums. Let's drag this over here. Then what else do we need? We need a filter after the tape. Cool. Now I'm not sure if these are the only parameters this program allows us to see. So hold on, my guys. I forgot to add the audio to the video. All right, so last time I played the audio, you guys wouldn't hear it because I didn't have the audio routed to OBS. All right, so now we have the audio and there is no audio right now. We have a trim knob. We go into a low pass filter. We go into the tape saturation to increase the harmonic content. We go back into a low pass filter to rid the harmonic content again and reshape it. Now from here, a tape may add like a little compression. So let's add some compression in here. Add some compression. Now here's my concern is, are these the only parameters we have for this module? Because the compressor is way more than just a threshold and ratio. It's attack, release, sustain. Is it looking at the RMS? Is it looking at the peak values? So I'm not saying this is like a full-on does everything program. I'm sure they're gonna build it up over time. But one concerning thing is we can't control the attack and release of the compressor, which is a key thing. Now maybe it is in the paid version, I don't know, but it's not very clear. All right, and then let's go maybe into, I don't know what a vinylizer is, but I doubt we need that right now. And let's go into a limiter just to make sure we don't pass 0. Add this in, drag this over here, boom. And then out to the audio out. So we created a custom chain for a tape saturation sound. Now, like I showed you guys before, a lot of plugins are literally just different UI skins over a modular system like this. Like the majority of plugins you guys buy are literally just people moving modules around, juice modules, and reskinning it. It's the same compression DSP. That's why my plugin is so different and it sounds different. We make custom DSP. You can't just copy and paste the module into your system. And that's why, you know, when people spend more time on their plugin and they have an expertise on a field, their plugins sound different. It's because they know how to go deeper than just the module. So I'm not saying you can't create something that sounds good. I'm trying to make a distinguishing difference between, you know, the BusyWorks Beats AI Mastering 7 versus just, you know, a simple modular system, like even in highs. So I'm not attacking this system. I'm just saying even in highs. Okay. All right. So now we have all this. We need to load up audio. So let's go to drop audio file here. All right. We're going to use some Ado sounds because he has really dope sounds from melodies to drums. I don't know if you guys can hear. All right, so that's his file. I think the snare will be a little bit easier to test because it has a longer tail to it. All right, so now we have that. And what we're gonna do is hit play. I didn't see this because it's not like super obvious. Well, over here we can hit play and then run the sound through, you know, our plugin. So now, so what I like about this so far is it's extremely simple. Anybody can get into this. You can actually probably learn more about signal flow doing this. I'm curious if you can go parallel. I guess so, because we just did a parallel chain a second ago. And it's straightforward. It doesn't need to be more complicated than this. Now it's about you guys' taste. But what I like even more, though, is that it creates a UI for you guys. That's pretty unique. I've never seen that before, where it auto generates a UI, spreads out the knobs for you, doesn't make it complicated. And I'm sure there's ways, you know, the system can generate its own backgrounds and stuff. All right, so let's test out the sound though. So let's go to the filters, because right now the filters are extra low. Let's one filter, here's the second filter. And now, let me see. So it says in at -3, out at +7. So we're clipping on the tape saturation. I do like the in and out values, that's very helpful. So the tape is doing something to make it louder. So let's figure out what about the tape. So let's drive the tape, but then we need to turn down. So what I'm missing from this chain is a gain knob after the tape, because we need to gain stage back into. Now the problem here is I don't know how to reroute the knobs without completely doing the entire chain all over again. That is a little frustrating, but luckily there's this little gain switch. I just little clip gain switch thing right here in the middle, so that does help. But I would like to have the user have control over this. Not a big deal. But one thing that has to change is the ability to delete cables, because it forces us to have to redo the entire chain all over again if we missed one element. All right, anyway, so here is the tape. So let's drive the tape. Make sure you guys can hear the signal. So it sounds like a pretty simple tan function on the tape. Nothing super complicated, but it does sound decent. So let's push the gain. So I like the tone. Let's mess with this warm knob. So warm just sounds like a filter to my ears. Not really a fan of what it's doing. Let's see if we can change the tape bias. And I'm not really hearing a difference in the sound there. So let's push the tape right about here. Now let's adjust the levels. Now the tricky part with resonance is we usually think resonance has to be at 0, but you guys are going to learn about filters, and like when you get on the meta layer of filters, what that means. Hopefully I'm making sense. Like if I have a low value, it may have a more sloped in curvature, and I could be cutting frequencies all the way from 20K all the way down just because the resonance is too low. So there is a point where we have to have it boosted up to a degree, but there's no way to know if this is a flattened resonance, if I'm making sense. So this is something you guys got to do by ear. That's what I'm saying. Because clearly at 0, it's still muffling the sound. So you got to turn that up. So let's use the level here. So we want to make sure we're going into the compressor at a certain level, so we're not just. Now it says 4:1. Okay, now I hear that compression. So the compressor sounds really, really good. I'm actually surprised at the sound here. That's a pretty sturdy compressor sound. And they have this audio output thing, correlation meter. I mean, that's a pretty nice sound. Like I'm actually shocked at the quality. Now the tape saturation is probably just a tan function, but the compressor has some like soul to it. It's not a boring compressor that just turns stuff down. But I am concerned though about the fact that we can't mess with the attack and release. So is that a true compressor? Is it an impulse response? I'm not sure. Let's see what else we have in here. Tune Pro. Wonder what that does. Is it auto tune? Tune Pro. That's crazy if this does auto tune. Oh shoot, they gave you guys auto tune. That's pretty insane. You guys can create your own auto-tune plugins. This company really said F the big audio companies. All right, so I mean, that's, you know, a plugin that I would say is ready. This sounds pretty dope to me. Now here, let me see if I can find the original file. All right, so I found the original. Here's the original. Really dry drum like it's supposed to be. All right, and then here's our new crushed drum. And then we have a mix level too, so we can pull back some of the tape. I probably wouldn't do that though on tape. I would like a mix level on the compressor, that would help. But regardless, pretty unique sound from, you know, what was this, 6 modules that we added in here? 6 modules. Here's the original. All right, and then here's this. Now, like I said, when you guys get more complex about signal flow, gain staging, you know, even something I would add in here is another EQ to try to boost up some of the lows. I'm trying not to go too ham about this because I want you guys to explore for yourselves. And again, this is my first time looking at it because I saw this on Av McCree's channel, but I will say this removes a lot of friction behind plugin development. Let me tell you guys, the video I just made about how to build plugins with highs, that was the easier side of highs. Highs, you like installing highs is like doing a what do you call them? A magic ritual. Like you have to do so many things that look like it's not about the work, and then out of nowhere it just works sometimes. So highs is a very, very, very complex system to set up. It's not easy at all. You have to be guided through it. And this system, you just download an app. I'm on a Mac. Now, again, to be fair, it wasn't a signed Mac app, which is really easy to do when you're a developer. So I'm curious why this is not signed. And one of my concerns is that it has a section for you guys to sign and notarize on Mac. I definitely would not use this section. You never want to give out your key to anybody. I don't care who it is. So don't do that, okay? Just don't do the section if you're on Mac, because why would they have a sign and notarize section if their app isn't even signed and notarized? That doesn't make sense to me. I would recommend you guys avoid creating serial keys for your plugins. It just causes a nightmare on the back end if you don't have a good license management system. And then it offers us to package as an installer. Now this, you guys may think that that's simple, but I literally had to consult with Pirate over, and you guys know him from audiotechhub.com. He's teaching how to build plugins through Highs and Juice. And I told you guys about his website. So long story short, he helped, one of our calls, he helped me with an installer because I was getting caught up on this one thing for, I think it was Mac or PC. I can't remember exactly which system we were getting stuck on. But long story short, like just you think creating an installer is just dragging and dropping your file, your VST file. You have to go through all these steps to create an installer. So if the fact that this thing can do it for you, that alone is a lot of value, okay, to the average person. I can tell you I was on a call for at least 8 hours trying to find a fix for this thing, okay, that I was struggling with. So yeah, so I haven't tested these, so I can't verify if those are good or not, but I gave you guys my raw synopsis in the last video. I didn't give it a fair shake because I couldn't figure out the audio. So basically on the left side to hear audio, you have to load up your own file and then hit play. So hopefully that helps somebody. Now again, what you guys build out of this is up to you. I have not tested this in a DAW because you have to pay for it. And I mean, I'm like, that's just the risk of you guys paying that to test that. And it's fair of them to ask for money to export because, I mean, that's, if you just export your plugin and they don't get paid, it's like you just use their system without paying them. So I get the conundrum there. The only thing I would ask the company to focus on is maybe an attack release, different parameters for a compressor, because I feel like a compressor is very complex. Same with the limiter, maybe an attack and release on that. For the EQ, maybe more bands on the EQ, and so that we can just kind of, I don't know how that would work on a meta layer, but I guess, or a mid-side EQ. So I didn't really dig too deep into this plugin. Maybe there's a way to do mid-side stuff. I feel like I saw that somewhere, but either way, you guys can dig deeper in this plugin. So second look at it, I will say that it's interesting. Have I bought it? No, I saw this on Av McCree's channel. And so thank you, Av McCree. It's another system just to show you guys there's a modular systems out there to build plugins. I showed you guys Highs. I showed you FL Studio's Patcher. I showed you guys Max for Live. I showed you guys, what else did we use that was modular? We talked about Electron. Okay. We talked about leveraging AI to help you guys on some of this stuff. All right. So let me know if this video is helpful. I just wanted to give it a fair shake on this time around because I skipped over the first part. All right, y'all. Peace.